Uber is formally a transportation business and not a digital facility, the Europe Trial of Judiciary, ECJ, has controlled. The trip-hailing company reasoned it was an data community facility, help human beings to do pin in every some electronic, and not a cab company. The instance arose following Uber was said to obedience regional cab rules in Barcelona. Uber told the sentence would do slight distinction to the way it managed in Europe, but experts say the instance could include implications for the gig economics. An Uber representative told, "The governing will not changing things in largest EU countries wherever we already work by Transport Act yet, millions of Europeans are yet prevented of with apps love its." As our new CEO has told, it is relevant to govern services such as Uber, and so we will go on the dialogue in cities through Europe. The is the attitude we'll get to provide all can get a safe trip at the tap of a key. In its governing, the ECJ told how a facility whose goal was to communicate, by tool of a smartphone annex, and for compensation, non-professional drivers with their own car in persons who desire to do city journeys must be confidential as a facility in the box of transportation in EU Act. It added, as EU law now stands, it is for the term state to govern the facility by that such as services are to be stipulated in accordance in the general rules of the contract on the operating of the EU. The governing is else sample of how the courts and regulators are fighting to do feeling of the event named as the gig economics. With Uber was at first startup less than rather than a 10 years back, it has often fall filthy of regulators in various countries, and has often been constrained to changing its industry pattern as a outcome. The governing sets out obviously how Uber is, in legislative regulation at law, a transportation business. Uber himself insists how down there won't be a enormous instant effect on its industry, but it could yet influence how it operates in next and how it liaises in domestic governments. Uber himself has previous told the will erode the reformation of which it telephone call obsolete laws. On a broad base, it could include implications for some gig economics business community how try to depict themselves as slight more than rather than an app on a telephone, connection providers in customers. It appears the courts, so distant, are take a various type. How could eventually include an effect, not fair on trip-hailing services, but on some gig economics services, such as couriers and lodging providers, who work as such pattern. TUC General Registrar Frances O'Grady told the sentence intended Uber must act by the identical rules as all else. She added, their drivers are not consumer goods. They merit at the really low the minimal wages and feast pay in. Woo-in technique should be utilized to do job superior, not to back to the kind of work practices we mind we'd seen the behind of many decades back. Uber's present about the planet has frequently been contentious, in protests staged versus it in different cities. Yet, Rohan Silva, a technology businessman and ex-advisor to David Mr. Cameron, says the company has done competitive environment up their play. Down there has as well been a gain in position London cabs, that are now take letter of credit cards, that they resisted for year. How is a answer to contest? He added how such services could quickly person regulatory as a outcome of the ECJ governing. Down there could be big implications for a dividing economics facility Love Airbnb, that will perhaps be controlled by the EU, he told. Which is enchanting on the law now is how various countries are take really various view. Portugal has legalized Uber and Airbnb, because France is clamped downward. Professor André Spicer, of the Cash Industry High School, welcomed the governing. He said present, lot human beings see the EU is in fact guideline the way in enterprising behind the nearly unrestricted force of technology firms and start to ensure several framework about how we as well complain the promoting contest, but which Uber's pattern is relying on is price, so lot how they mainly herd all else out of the marketplace. The judgment will enable regular contest, so which we will see is lot of some less apps emerging about Europe.